Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to the Ashes of Creation discussion round, the longest running podcast for Ashes of Creation. And since we are the longest running podcast for Ashes of Creation, we decided to spice things up because, once in a while you have to try something new. And yeah, so we're live from VR chat. And today we got DA, the leader of Envious, and Faisal with us.
Hello, hello.
So yeah, what's up?
We're in VR chat now.
Topics.
You waited too long. You did too much silence. You made it awkward. Go roll into the topic.
It is freaking awkward. Look what's sitting next to me.
It's not that big of a deal.
Hi, BCG. Ooh.
Oh God!
You really had to do that. You really had to do the.
One more time for the camera.
No, don't stop. Ah, Jesus. Yeah, you're gonna get me fucking demonetized. You're gonna get me freaking banned.
All right.
It's
fine. It's fine.
So the first topic.
The wait.
So Yoni, why don't you explain the topic to us?
The wait from when we first started to now, and the wait to how long till we actually get say a 2 or a release. Like that's basically what the topic means. Is a lot like it's as it says, it's the wait. How long have we been waiting? Are you okay with it? Are you not okay with it? Do you think we should have? Do you want to see some stuff? Would you have liked to see some stuff by now? Are you okay with the development process? The information we've been getting lately, the information we've been getting over the time frame. How much longer do you think? How much longer do you think is an acceptable waiting period for certain things? Till I'm not saying the whole entire game, but just.
I mean, so
where'd my mug go?
This past January, it has been 5 years for me personally since I joined the Discord. And overall, at least for me, from my point of view, it's been a roller coaster.
Stackerson?
No. It is what it is. I don't think there's anything that can be done about it, and it's not that bad when you see progress. There's definitely projects out there that have had less progress.
And you've seen less, yeah. So some companies see it, keep it close to chest. But then you also have the used to be promise of, well, not used to be. I'm not gonna say use that word. The promise of transparency. Do you feel still feel that's there?
Yeah.
I mean,
I would. Here's kind of my take on this. I think the wait is fine. I mean, we all knew what we were getting into. The memos take long to make. They are a huge project, and obviously Steven has his work cut out for him, right? He's got a lot of work to do. Realistically, I think the transparent is great. I love the monthly dev streams that we have. That they, even if it's not something that I want to see per se, there's still something that they always show of what the team is working on. Personally, I think what I would like to see Intrepid do is kind of move toward, kind of do a little bit of a shift, right? You look at streams from Pantheon, another game that's in development. You look at streams from, even New World or some of these other game companies, and the conversations that they have with their audience, it is on a much better level than what Intrepid does. Just to give an example, their streams, they talk about, what they envision for the flow of combat, utilization of different tools within game, what they want their world to feel like, what they want your gear progression, the flow of things. They're not necessarily showing hey, here's our combat, but the discussions that they have with their community are far better than what we get from the live streams. And that's really the kind of pivot I'd like to see Intrepid do. Get into, combat's a big thing right now. I know that they're working on it, and they, don't want to show it to us yet. Excuse me, before it becomes, they don't want to show it to us yet because they want to, get everything fleshed out and things like that. But there are still conversations that we can be having, that they can kind of communicate and kind of bounce off their audience, just for simple feedback. Or just to kind of give us an idea of the direction that they're headed in without having to show us something. And I feel like, it's kind of disheartening going to some of these other projects and seeing the developers kind of put that effort into not only just the feedback, but just more of having these important conversations versus like, we made a new mount. We made a new cosmetic. The dev team is working on this and I can't wait to show you. Right? Like, we get the dev team is working on stuff. We get that, you can't show us stuff, yada, yada, yada. But let's just have some real conversations. Let's quit with the filler bullshit.
Can I add on that?
Yeah.
And let me know what you guys think about this, because honestly, in regards to transparency, Basil, put the freaking mugs away.
Fine.
No, when it comes to transparency,
Matrix.
I feel like I know we always say, yeah, there's a lot of transparency, but I don't feel like they're doing much different than other studios. Other studios just don't do it as frequent when it comes to,
They're definitely doing better than other studios, but do you feel like it's on
what we
the
see,
level that
No.
you were expecting?
No, what we see in the live streams, you can literally do in a quarterly, update.
Write up, yeah, or something,
The
or an
frequency,
email.
Exactly, the frequency of the live streams for me does not really mean this is transparency. When it comes to transparency as a term, they don't really do anything different than other studios do. The only thing that Intrepid does differently is like a monthly, like, hey, yeah, we did this cosmetic, we're working on that, that's an update. That's what other studios do, but they don't do it on a monthly basis. They do it when they have something to show.
Yeah, but what do you want to see? That's the question.
I mean, I don't want to see anything. I'm happy with what we get when we get it, but I'm just saying it's like if you compare, like, we all, like, all five of us all five of us been around since 2017. And if you go back into 2017, 2018, that level of transparency, at least in my opinion, from my experience, was a lot different than what it is now. Because at that point, you had Steven come in on a more regular basis, be like, "Yeah, guys, we're working on this, we're working on that." But now it's all done through monthly live streams.
I would like, if I was going to say something, I would like to see, I would like the way that the live streams were before quarantine, of inviting different devs in to tell, I explain what the different projects are working on, like what the state of the different projects they're working on, or like what stuff's going on in the studio. That I would like to see that brought back. We are kind of I think we did see that kind of with the last live stream. They brought one of the devs on, like someone different. They brought one of the producers on. I would also probably like them to see them get into their new streaming, because we've been talking about the streaming. So, like, when they do the move into the new studio, Margaret had all these plans for a streaming room and all that stuff. I don't know what the state of the studio move is currently, but we've been moved in there for a while now, I think, and I'm curious to see when we're gonna get that new streaming setup instead of just Margaret and Steven on the stream in the room still.
Honestly,
yeah, and
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to elaborate, like, I don't necessarily want to see more, like, show me a footage or something. I just want to move the conversation to something more constructive besides, like, versus just, like Yokai said, I thought it was cool when they had the guy who was working on Node Tech come on and they showed that Node video and, like, some of the cool things that he's working on. And I just want, like I said, I want to move the conversation to more constructive things versus just like, well, what do you guys will think about the new Pyri race and how does it look? Like, come on, bro. Like,
that being said, the character, like, go ahead.
Let me ask you something, DA. Would you say that all the monthly live streams and all the updates we're getting is more aimed towards like more recent members of the community that have not been around as long as we have?
You cut out just a couple times there. Could you repeat the question?
Oh, I did. I'm cutting out. Oh, I'm sorry.
It was just, I think, like mic sensitivity or something.
Would you say that the more recent streams within the last couple of years are more aimed towards newer members of the community compared to like old veterans like you and me?
Yeah, I definitely think that they're catered to a little bit more to the audience who doesn't, the audience who isn't, in the Discord and as active as we are, for the people who don't follow it as much. But I mean, even the people who do watch the streams, like, you have to realize that a lot of them are your people, or are the people who are in the Discord every day, conversing or talking about it in their own communities and things like that. And how do I put it? I don't think, even though that they might be tailored to new users, I think you can still have good conversations and good topics to talk about while kind of educating that newer player, right? So a newer player comes along and you're having a conversation about the leveling experience. We'll just use that for an example. As a new player, yes, I might not be getting a stream that tells me like Ashes of Creation is going to have this and this and that, and these are all the cool features and whatnot. But I would, as a new player, I would still enjoy that, because it's like, okay, even in their early phase of development, they're already having these conversations about like the leveling process and how they don't want it to be tedious or things like that.
If you could make the argument that the live stream is meant for the newer audience, like answering like questions and stuff like that. Maybe it's not maybe it's not meant for the person that's in the Discord all the time. What avenue of information would you say is for that longer term person? Because we haven't been getting the dev diaries. We haven't had dev diaries in like 2 quarters. They kind of stopped doing the dev diary stuff. No one really goes on the forums. People would like some of the forum dev discussions and guild thing. Well, I'm drawing a blank what the fuck those are called. But some of the Discord, the forum discussion stuff with the devs would like that brought into like threads on the Discord? Threads or channels on the Discord and stuff like that. But yeah,
I mean, personally, okay, I'm gonna say what I would like to see, just for the future. I know it's not gonna happen because you have to cater to everybody.
I'll go next.
Okay, no, you go first, and then I go. I already talked.
I said next. Well, how did first come about?
Okay, then I'm going first. All right. Okay, number 1 is shut down the forums. It's 2022. I know forums are a nice thing for some people, but the forums are literally something you can do on Discord now with a thread system, right? And you still have Reddit. So you got 2 text-based things for longer conversations, right? You can put a slow timer on the thread so it's not spammy like a normal channel, and you have conversations that are more focused, right? And secondly, in 2018, I think DA was on that podcast as well. Steven and Bacon jumped on, and we had, for example, a long discussion, a long talk about, for example, like when it comes to raiding, right? Steven stated stuff like, oh yeah, there's going to be raids that are going to be only, possible, only 1% of the server is going to be able to beat them. Now a couple of years have passed, and we come to learn that Steven takes a lot of ideas and stuff from raids like from Arcage, but also he stated at some point that they have people at Intrepid that know a lot and a good deal about raid design. How about they come around and talk about raid design? Well, how are your raids going to look? What's the design choice here? What's the idea behind raids? Because if you're, for example, this is just something I talked to a couple of people the other day. If your difficulty for raiding, for example, comes only from PvP, from the PvP factor of open world raids, that might be something people want to know about up front. Like, have that sort of conversation, not just, oh yeah, we're gonna have really hard raids, but hey, how do you design what's the idea behind what's the decisions behind design decision, exactly.
Yeah. Yes, bro. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's where I want to see the conversation move to, right? Like, I don't need to see visuals, but these are things that I feel like at the stage of development, especially with they're wanting to be open and more transparent. Like these are the discussions that we should be having.
Exactly. Okay, Faisal, say what you wanted to say, and then I'm gonna say one more thing, and then somebody else can
Like
go.
in terms of development in 5 years, a lot of things changed. So we need to acknowledge that there's a huge chunk of like new members entered the Discord. So there are things like I think Steven would like to do, but he can't do, like join a Discord call, for example. You're just going to have a bombard of people that it's most probably going to lag out Discord, for example.
There are ways to do it properly. Like
Is there?
I mean, he done it in the past 2018 after when the whole my.com thing happened. He jumped on a Discord call. Or
after that.
in
when
20 after 20
Asmongold and all the other streamers just knew about Ashes.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is what I wanted to say also. We need to have these types of conversations on the Discord, because right now you like it's the same 15 to 20 people that have the same dumb conversations over and over again.
Yeah.
We used to have a community. We used to have a Discord community that was probably the most productive Discord community for a game that I ever seen, right? But we're not having these types of conversations anymore. It's just like the same couple people, sharing their entitled conversations. Like we used to sit on the Discord in 2017, 2018, I think like all the way till mid 2019 for hours on end and talk about, MMORPGs, raid designs, PvP designs, and all that stuff. Like these are the type of conversations we need to have now. Like honestly, and this is not meant to be against, Intrepid or the way they do their streams. If I'm not, if I have something better to do, then I don't watch the streams. I read the transcript, because most of the time it's the same thing. It's new cosmetics, new 3D renders, and a Q&A.
I think most people don't. Like, most people will watch the live stream. Like, so the people that watch the live stream, I think majority of people that do that are probably watching the live stream till they get to the Q&A section, then they just like teeter off, like I fuck off and do their own thing. And then even past that, I think majority of people don't even watch the live stream. They'll go to a transcript afterwards and see if there was anything actually interesting that popped up.
Yeah. So I usually am there for the big developer update, and I'll watch some stuff. Maybe see a couple screenshots, but once we get into that Q&A, I'm out of there. And a lot of times I'm just like, if I miss it, I miss it. I'm just gonna
same here.
Catch it on YouTube, watch it at 2 times speed, and just look at the pictures. See you guys next month.
I feel like we should just have more of these conversations, like way more than we did in the past.
Yeah.
All right, next topic. Unless someone else has anything else to say. Stackerson, you were kind of quiet. You got anything else to add?
No. Nope.
All right. So, collectibles, tutorial, staggering progression, friendly fire.
Let the A pick.
What do you want to talk about? Yeah.
All right. 1 second. Let me pull up the chat here. We'll go to. I don't know.
If you want to have a topic, if you want to have a topic you want to talk about, but it's on the list, you guys go ahead and say it, and we can talk about that.
Think about the conversation is something I just wanted to get off my chest for a while. So and by chest I mean the one in game, not in the
This was the dumbest
idea. But all right. So friendly fire. So friendly fire was a topic that. I have been talking with a lot of people in Discord, and I had just come to the thought process that friendly fire is a good thing to have. If you're having an open world MMO, it neutralizes zerging tactics. Friendly fire, you have the option of being hitting your own allies. You don't just zerg ball each other. You have to space out and stuff like that. You don't just throw out gigantic AoEs because there's a chance you're gonna hit your own front line, stuff like that. If you have healing friendly fire, then dropping down AoEs, healing AoEs willy-nilly causes it to you possibly healing your own enemy. If you because like another thing with healing inside action combat is most of them are AoE heals instead of like actual like if you give like maybe a targeting heal kind of thing, you have to target, you have to make it more skill based, you have to target your stuff. It's just, do you think friendly fire has a place inside Ashes of Creation, if not open world MMOs?
I
think
mean,
Go ahead.
what's it called? Like, I mean, if it's like a small dungeon and friendly fire was turned off, so you don't take damage from your allies, I think that's okay. But if it's like huge quantity of numbers of people, that's where I say like let spells like hurt each other, like players hurt each other, just so, as you said, zerging tactics don't happen. At least that's how I see it.
I think that I'm sorry. Yeah, I haven't seen a game do friendly fire as far as like an MMO yet. I think it can be done. I just think that if you want to do friendly fire as a thing in your game, that has to be that like all your design, like you need to know that from the start, right? That's not something that you can just pivot to last minute. Your bosses, your raid encounters, how big your zones are, how big your entrances and things like that. All of that needs to be thought of when it comes to the design. If you were to do friendly fire, I'm not opposed to it. I just, if it is like, if I do hit a friendly, just make reduce the damage, right? I don't want to fucking like just blast an enemy because he walked through the door at the wrong time, right? But if he takes some damage, if there should be a, oh shit, I'm taking damage, let me get out of this because, or no, let me not spam this because my friend is here.
I mean, I like the idea, honestly, but I don't think it will work within Ashes simply because that would have been a design choice from the start. Because you have to completely design the combat system and all the spells and everything around that. And most of
right.
You think
That's what they're designing right now.
Do you think we're too late in development to make that pivot towards friendly fire?
I mean, I don't know where we are in development, so I cannot.
I don't think we're too.
Right now, we're at the place where they're deciding combat right now. So this is the time when they would choose to do friendly fire or not.
I mean, hey, go for it.
It's
something we can definitely bring up next PI meeting. Obviously, we can't like talk about the results of that conversation, but that's definitely something we could bring up next PI meeting just to gauge their interest on their thoughts on it. I don't think we're gonna do it though.
Stackerson?
I don't know. I mean, I think you kind of talked about it, like what it does. Only MMO I've played that I remember had friendly fire was Darkfall, and it's nice because it kind of is almost a little bit of an anti-zerg, but it also makes melee tactics kind of a thing because pushing melee and getting into their group kind of starts fucking with friendly fire. Not everyone wants to just start swinging everywhere, so
how would you, like, here's the thing, friendly fire, how would you handle corruption in that matter?
That's something that would have to be figured out.
Yeah.
The only way I could see friendly fire being a thing is if you only gain corruption on the death of that character, right? So like you walk through the door and I had already had a thunderbolt casting on, some an AoE thunderbolt on some skeleton mob, right? And you just run at the wrong opportunity, and it nicks some damage off of you. That shouldn't cause me to go corrupted. It should be me actually killing you. But that's not how the corruption system works. So I don't know. That's something
that is how the corruption system works. But it would be like there would be that combatant exploit where you'd want to make sure like someone wouldn't go combatant right away after attacking someone.
Cartho says fire is never friendly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be something that would have to be figured out with the PvP to turn system if they had it.
I mean, I wouldn't mind friendly fire, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have a problem with it either at all.
I think it adds more tactics to PvP. I think it in PvE and PvP both. I think it neutralizes my
Zerg.
Zerg ball versus your Zerg ball.
Completely.
Well, no, I wouldn't say completely, but it does. It's another deterrent against it.
I mean,
I think it also gives a lot more thought process to how like what kind of like skills and spells you're doing. Like in D&D, you're not like if you throw out a fireball, you're gonna hit your own party as well. You have a tank in there, like probably he has like a CC that does chain pulls towards him. You're using friendly fire to your advantage too. You have a bunch of party members. You have a party member that does CC. He chain pulls everybody towards him, and then you put down a fireball. You hurt your ally, but that's intentional. It's intentional strategy. I don't know.
I mean, it would be really immersive.
It would be, yeah.
Mages would have to really.
But would it be fun?
I mean,
that's the question.
It can be fun for people that are well organized.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
What is the everyday casuals experience on this thing?
Exactly.
Spam.
Casuals will. I mean, it's any game. You learn how it's played, and
Right.
if there's friendly fire, you learn that it's played a little differently than if there wasn't.
Their experience with friendly fire will be the exact same experience as everybody else. They just won't. They probably won't be able to do the super like tactical side of things without being a little bit more like it's the same level of coordination that you would have with like normal people. Like if you're coordinated, you're coordinated. If you're like a person by yourself, you're not going to be as coordinated. But the overall mechanics of the system are still the same for like both casual and hardcore. But both those coordinated and not solo player people.
Honestly, I would just like friendly fire. I know what the fuck. What's wrong with me today? I would like friendly fire just because of the fact that I could literally kill everybody that is like doing the freaking ninja pull on raid bosses.
If that's the case, I think they're going to need to change a lot in combat. For example, the fighter, because if you have any melee weapon and you would have a normal basic attack, it's an arc that hits everything.
Yeah.
No, the way it would change is as melee, you don't just all dogpile on one person and hit each other while hitting that one person.
You're breaking the fights up, and you're not all fighting. It's like you're not balling together and fighting all one person. You're not like clipping through each other, just like all mob balling onto a single target. You're having to space out. You're having to space out a bit more. But the melee
that's my point. It can be unrealistic when that happens.
No, that's more realistic. You wouldn't want to hit the person next to you with a sword.
The thing is,
it's not a pole army. You're good.
The thing is, if you want to do friendly fire combat, you would need some sort of indicator for for the friendlies to know where your attack is landing. You know how the combat worked in WildStar?
I don't think so.
You have a bunch of games that have friendly fire and have wide arcs. You just understand that person's using a melee weapon. You don't get right next to him, or you don't get in front of him when he's trying to swing, because you just like understanding the arc of a weapon, and you're not like you're giving your ally space when he's fighting.
Yeah, but what about I don't know, like AoE spells for mages? Not every AoE spell has a
I mean, you don't
like
run into the fire.
For example, what if you have like a shout that causes, I don't know, crippling effect of fear or whatever?
I think it should just do. I think it should just do damage, straight up damage. It needs to be there as a deterrent from the balling and a reminder, like you need to change up your positioning, right? So, like if a mage, again, I use the example. If a mage is casting an AoE thunder on some tank off in the who's trying to flank from the right, and I as a fighter try to go engage that tank, that thunderbolt coming down on my head shouldn't be like, oh shit, now I'm gonna die because like I'm crippled, I got heavy damage, and this guy is on my ass. It should be more so of, hey, the mage realizes this fighter is attacking him, so let's do single target spells. Let's, switch up how we play. Let's switch up, positioning. Maybe I should switch focus to another set of targets.
Are you talking about BCG? Are you talking about like buffs and utility skills in a friendly fire scenario?
No, I'm talking about like spells that are AoE but around your character, like that you, for example, like World of Warcraft, there are skills that you use.
You just wouldn't psychic scream with your friends next to you.
I mean, yeah, but you see, like that just takes like you would have to do a lot, and I mean a lot of single target spells or abilities in general.
Not necessarily. Like, think about it in like a arena context. Like, how many times are you fighting? I mean, yeah, sometimes your melee may be peeling for you, but if your melee is peeling for you, you don't necessarily need a psychic screen. You'd want a psychic screen when you're like your friends are off somewhere else, and you psychic scream. You might also want like a reduce the range so it's not as wide, but it only gets the people that are in your immediate vicinity.
Yeah, I think somebody in chat brought up a good point. Like, not all AoEs have to be designed on the circle ground pattern, right? Like, you can have the shape like the line ones and the cones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have like a frontal cone, so you just yell at their faces.
It makes skills less boring, and it makes you have to think about like how you're using your skill. Where it makes you have to be aware of your surroundings. Think about like your positioning of your allies. Think about like how you're using your skills, which skills you're using, and when you're using them.
I also, in Darkfall, I liked how it affected melee. Like, doing a melee push was a strategy, because when you got into their ranks, they couldn't just start AoEing themselves down. And it was also hard for them to start meleeing, because if they started meleeing, they'll be hitting their friends, so they kind of had to naturally spread out if melee pushed into them.
That would make like raid fights really interesting.
It would.
I would just do it for like open world PvP. I wouldn't have it in like.
You could totally do it for raids too. I would have it for all aspects of the game.
But I just don't feel like with the amount of PvP we're gonna have in Ashes. I just don't. I would have to see it to because I have a feeling it wouldn't work in Ashes.
Yeah,
I don't think it would be as big. I mean, I think the biggest issue would be around the corruption system.
And what's it called?
Yeah.
Mortal Online 2. I think does friendly fire.
Oh yeah, that has friendly fire too.
Yeah, but it works in that game. It works really well in that game because almost everything is single target, and it's like Chivalry 2 kind of combat, so it works.
Yeah,
look up some Darkfall vids. Especially when they got into Unholy Wars, they had a lot more AoE abilities, and I don't think it was that big of a deal. But it was also like, if you get hit by friendly fire, it's not like it's GG, you're done, you're dead. No, it's like you just took another hit. It would be ideal if you didn't take more hits from friends, but being hit by a friend every now and then isn't like the end of the world.
But like my only concern is basically either ranged characters or like mages, essentially, when they do big ass AoEs or like doing just general ranged attacks. They're most bound to hit their allies.
Yeah,
you don't send the melee in when you're about to do the AoEs. You drop the AoEs at range.
That's fine with me. But every basic attack I do, I get to hit my ally like 50, 70,
well, you wouldn't
60%.
do it that way. You wouldn't have AoEs on your basic attacks. You would just have them be single target.
But if they're in my line of sight, that's my thing.
But
you'd have to be careful.
You'd be aiming. You'd be aiming your fucking skill shots and stuff like that. You wouldn't be hitting your allies. Like, you're not. That's the top. That's the entire point. Is you're like having to think. Like, you're not just like going in there just flailing your sword around all over the place. You're not just firing off shots willy nilly. You're actually having to like aim for your enemy instead of like just like all your allies dogpiling on one enemy and you not having to worry about it. Like it fixes that zerging mechanic. It fixes fixes a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, like look how much of a change just adding player collision to a game has had. In New World, you couldn't dogpile 70 people on one person. You know, oh, you see 2, 3 people on that guy, go find somebody else.
Yeah, got you.
And
I'm just
which
thinking
I like
about
that
aspects.
because when you start spreading out the fights, bigger fights are something you can actually enjoy. In games like WoW or Arcade, where it's just everyone stacks on each other and everyone just spamming at AoEs, and whoever has the strongest AoEs just wins. It's really quick, and the spectacle isn't as fun as the gameplay itself. When in games where there is collision as well as like friendly fire, I've noticed, since you have to spread out, you have these long, drawn out, large fights, and you're not dead in moments because everyone's stacked AoEs on top of you.
I mean, they're gonna have to find a way to spread out battlefields one way or another.
I think friendly
necessarily.
fire is the. I think spreading out battlefields makes it not only like less chaotic, but well, actually, probably like maybe a little, like may look more chaotic. But like, I think it also makes it look more filled. It makes it like it spreads it out a lot more. It's just better for the situation overall. And I think the way you spread out battlefields is you add friendly fire.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna work.
That and objectives, right? Like
Yeah,
especially for your
100%.
your siege.
I mean, that brings us to a very old topic: action combat or tap targeting at this point. And I don't want to open that can of worms up.
So, now on the topic of raids and things like that, I'd honestly like to see in this whole combat friendly fire thing, objectives, right? So like we talk about objectives in like large scale PvP.
What are we talking about now? Like, what's the new topic?
It's just I'm just expanding on what we were.
Objectives and raids is I think where he's going. Raids, just to go with raids if you're trying to type what the topic is.
No. It's more so. It's kind of a piggyback off the friendly fire thing.
So large scale PvP, I guess you're going with this.
No, actually, I was going to talk a bit about rating. It was an off topic. We can move on to an actual topic.
No, he has to do it first. But when he's slicing up the video, he has to do it in segments. Okay, so that's what he's trying to do right now.
The rating.
So it's just interesting. Yeah, it's just interesting rating. I would like to see Intrepid do stuff out of the box, especially since they want to have this open world. You're able to PvP at your raids. It's a DPS boss battle. So we talk about like what I was going to say in large scale PvP. We talk about objectives to kind of spread out the battlefield, and I think what I'd like to see something from Intrepid is doing the same thing within their ratings, right? So if my guild's in a raid and another guild is coming in, have ballistas on the wall that if we're just fighting it alone, we can shoot the boss for extra damage. But like if another group is coming there, we need to control the ballistas. Otherwise, they're just going to rain fire down on our people. And I would like to see kind of like raids be more than just a scripted. You learn the little rotations, things like that. Design your monsters like Monster Hunter or something like that. Like.
I have 2 examples of interesting things. These are ones that we came up with last night. I was talking with people in our Discord, DA, and 2 examples of this. Well, there's a third one that the other people were talking about, but like two of my examples are one having the mini bosses throughout the dungeon or the other bosses until you get like the main boss at the end. Have them have a buff kind of thing to them. So like one scenario of this is like killing these bosses removes a buff from the boss. So you do want to go out and kill them. Like it doesn't weaken the boss entirely, but taking your time and going off and killing these bosses takes away a mechanic or a buff from the final fight, weakening them just a little bit, so it makes the fight a little bit easier. Or going the opposite direction of that and having it to where you you
need to get a buff.
Well, no. Actually, you by going to kill the mini boss, like it's an optional choice of you get a reward from killing the mini bosses, like some character materials or whatever have you, loot, like decent, like good loot. But by killing the mini bosses, and getting the loot, you add a mechanic to the boss. You make the boss fight harder for more loot. That's scenario 1.
I think that'd be pretty cool. Adding pretty like engaging a mechanic. I think to expand on that, I would also like to see in some of these like raid rooms have multiple routes, right? So you can have, for in Alpha 1, for example, right? You know, those you run past all the trash mobs, you get to the fire dragon in the end. Well,
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting if there was multiple routes to that dragon, and instead of those just being a bunch of trash mobs, make them, mobs that we have to fight our way through. As we fight our way through them, have actual like mini bosses with like maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 mechanics. Something not as many mechanics as the final raid boss, but give us some mini mechanics in there, right? And as we fight those, like, as Yokai said, you kill, you go down a certain path because you want the boss, you want either a boon to your party or for the fighting the boss, or like a mechanic taken away, or like extra loot, just kind of expanding on that.
The other one that was another one of the interesting raid designs was implementing kind of like a horde mode mechanic to a raid. So, say you get to the boss, you get right before the boss fight, and there's a gigantic bridge leading to the boss room, and then you have to destroy the chains that lead to the boss room. Well, while destroying the chains, you have a gigantic horde of zombies or spiders or whatever have you. The theme of the dungeon, horde moding you down. So while you're trying to destroy the chains, and then when it's nonstop. It could possibly get harder and harder depending on what have you. And then you destroy the chains, and then you're able to run across the bridge to say destroying the chains takes however long, but you're having to focus on both the chains and the horde mode that's coming up behind you. The next one after that is having it part of the boss fight. So you have this big boss in front of you that does has its mechanics. It's a raid boss, but at the same time you have a horde mode. You have a horde mode type thing where zombies are attacking your back line, so you can't ignore the horde that's behind you, but you want to take out the boss in front of you. And this horde mode thing also happens while the entire time of the boss fight. So you're trying to race to kill the boss, but you can't just ignore the horde behind you. And then the third example of this is having it to where like you have a quest to go in the raid, you have to retrieve a fucking an idol of some kind or something, what have you. There's just a quest to go in there, like Indiana Jones type shit, like Temple of not Temple of Doom, but Indiana Jones type shit with a boulder. But it's the main raid boss is an unkillable thing, and you have a horde mode type situation as well. Like he has hordes of people, and he's an unkillable boss, and you're basically like going through different phases of the raid, trying to escape the boss.
Yeah, but that's you cannot do that open world.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not open world. This one will be.
My issue is, and the more time passes on, the more I hear Steven and Trevor talk about raiding, this becomes really clear to me, because the majority of all raids are going to be open world. So for me, like I was hoping we would get raids, right, like instanced PvE focused raids that are so hard that even the top raiding guilds will take several months to beat one boss. But now, and that would be achieved through, RNG mechanics. Like, for example, most raids in any MMORPG have a rhythm to them, right? You know when certain ability will trigger, you know what the boss does, yada, yada, yada. So I was hoping for bosses that have a pool of abilities and they can RNG through it, no matter the time, no matter, that sort of stuff. But the more time goes on, the more that I am slowly starting to realize, or I get the feeling that the majority of all raids, they will have a couple mechanics, like every other raid boss, fire breathing, whatever, a little bit of AoE, run out of the red, whatever. But the majority of all raids within Ashes, I believe the difficulty will come from the PvP factor, which, for some people is cool. It's interesting. I probably will have some fun with it, but I also know that a lot of the people that I brought in from other games, like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, and they are not gonna enjoy that much because
I don't think you can do the raids where you have it to where like you just anyone like your raid group goes in there and then another PvP group goes in there and backpack you. I think that throughout the dungeon that's fine, but I think you have to lock off the actual raid boss, because who's to say you don't bring in 2 raid groups in there and just cheese the boss? Who says you don't like just zerg like you die and like when we were doing like the Alpha 1, you just zerg in there and take care.
Then it's instance and not open world.
It's not like the raid itself. The overall raid is open world, but you're just locking off. You're locking off the raid boss.
Raid bosses are part of the raid, and if the raid is open world, then the raid boss at any time is open world. Otherwise, it's instance, even though if it's timed.
You don't have to be instance, but you do lock off the door behind you.
Then that boss becomes instance for that one group.
Yeah, but so that there's no reason you can't lock off the boss, and it's still an open world dungeon.
I think if you do the door close behind you method, it should be about fighting.
Okay, you guys need to understand. You need to understand how instance stuff works. Like instance raids, they don't run on the same shard on the same server.
Yes, I'm aware. Yeah.
Okay, so what you're talking about, for example, right? You cannot have that in. You would literally need a portal if you go in. You cannot go in an open world dungeon. Then you see a raid. Then you see a boss. And then all the. I never seen it before. I don't. I think it might be technologically possible to do that. I just think it's highly unlikely that they will do that, because they would have to invent a system that registers a certain amount of players, all with their own ID, going into a boss room, starting the fight, and then they would have to teleport that whole group to a different instance, right? That is not on the same server as the open world, and as soon as they all die, the boss is over. They have to be transported back, like instantly, to make it seem like it's open world.
Why do they have to be transported back instantly?
Because it's not in for the level of what I'm talking about, you need to do that on an instance, on a separate than the world server.
Not as
I think you could have.
I think the way you would do it is you'd have a portal, and it would take people to whatever a location, and only X number of people could be in that location, and then. And that's what you'd do, is you'd get your full raid group in there, and it'll lock anyone else out from joining. If people try to sneak in there while you're trying to get your raid group in, then you just kill them, knock them out.
Yeah, but that would make it instanced.
Okay.
Even if the raid boss itself is instance, the raid overall is like any kind of boss or mini bosses or something like that throughout the raid is open world. So you're still fighting you're still fighting PvP. You can still get back cap PvP until you get to the raid to the raid boss.
I still don't see my type of raid or what I was hoping for ever happening in Ashes, and I made my peace with that. I just made my peace with that.
It's gonna be open world. It's gonna be fucking people come running up trying to kill. I mean, I think that they can achieve some a successful rating system as long as you put multiple avenues of obtaining that best in slot gear, right? So it shouldn't be every guild who's at end game trying to fight over 3 bosses, right? There should be a number of raid bosses around the world that you have to take on, or not only have it come from just raid bosses, right? So another thing that older games had that isn't necessarily present today is you can take, especially with these open world dungeons, right? Have each floor, increased in strength, and a top end rating guild, right, might be down at in basement number 440, because they can get down there, and so the dungeon boss in that room drops best in slot pieces for different classes, and then you might have a 6 o'clock raid where you have to go into the Dragon Slayer or something like that.
It's my whole issue. It's not an issue. It's more like a worry that I have. And anybody that disagrees with me on that aspect, I think we talked about this in the past, and I think we disagreed on it. But from my point of view, the majority of all MMORPG players till this day are PvE focused players, right? And raiding has always been that PvE endgame content, right? Where people just once a week, they have an ID, they go in, they, you know, for a couple hours with their friends, they try to kill a boss, and they're having a good time. That sort of player behavior, I don't think a lot of people, I know Steven says there's a good amount of people that will not like his game. I get that, right? But not offering that sort of stuff for that crowd is like giving you a...
You can't allow that kind of stuff for that crowd, because that kind of breaks the whole scarcity of resources. Like, you just can't allow instances for the highest in content. Like, it has to be limited.
I didn't say highest.
Well, they're going to provide some level of raid content with something for people with that mindset, I think. But
yeah, I don't think so. That's the thing. Because of the way
it might not. It might just be I don't know. I think you like being dramatic with the difficulty. I think there will still be some difficulty. It's not just going to be like PvP and PvE are mutually exclusive. They're not just going to be like, well, there's PvP, so we're just going to make this easy. They can still have difficult content, especially if people ask for it.
There were still raids inside Lineage, EverQuest, and ArcAge. 3 of the games that Steven is basing the game off of,
and that
were very difficult raids that were also not defeated for like a long time. That also people still enjoyed.
I think we're talking about, like, I know when I'm talking about raid difficulty, I like games like ArcAge or Lineage. They don't even come close to what I'm talking about.
You're talking about appeasing Mythic raid WoW players.
No, I'm talking about making Mythic PvE WoW players cry. That's what I'm talking, without having the element of PvP.
Yeah, but even then, like, how many of those people even see that content, right? Like, that's still a low percentage, 1% of your player base, right?
No, I mean, like, they can see the content. I'm just talking about having that type of content, right, accessible to everybody. It doesn't mean they have to beat it. My worry is, and I think this is a legit worry for a lot of people, at least the people that I talk to, having the difficulty in Ashes when it comes to raiding come from the PvP element.
It's not coming from the PvP element. It is an element that is going to make it hard.
Honestly, I doubt that so much till I see otherwise.
There's no reason. They're not mutually exclusive. You could drop any PvE raid that you're imagining in an open world. Yes, it would be more difficult.
No. I want to see you put in the Firelands Ragnarok heroic raid into an open world. I want to see you.
Have you ever clipped into the dungeon without like it going into an instance? Like, you imagine you could put that in the open world, and it would be in the open world. Like, what about it do you think would not allow it to be in the open world?
It's the way the fight is fought.
What mechanic can't be in the open world?
That's not the issue. What mechanic is in the world? It's the way the fight is fought in the arena that you have access to. If I'm fighting a raid boss in the open world, I'm gonna freaking kite him all the way to the next main city and let the freaking guards kill it, that they did in Classic with Onyxia and what's it called, Lord Kazakh. That's not the issue.
You don't have to allow it to be leashed that far.
You can have it. You can have it. You don't, like, number one, you don't leash it that far, and number two, like, you can have like it be in the open world, but it draw, like, say you, like, when you go through the boss room door, you drop down into a fucking, like, there's a hole down there. You drop off the side of it to get into the boss room, and then you're inside an arena. You're inside an arena. You're like, there's no and like for the gateway to open up, you have to defeat the boss. You have to defeat the boss. That's a simple script. People learn how to do door opening things and like door opening mechanics. That's like the first thing you learn when you learn game design is opening and closing doors.
You could have it be you kill a boss, and whichever raid kills the boss everyone gets to loot an item, and that one item is what allows you to go into the area that allows you to kill the other boss or something like that.
That's if they give you items.
I was just gonna stick.
Oh
to
no,
it.
they could give an item,
Yeah.
and that way it would force one raid would get the item because only one raid would have looting rights at the end after a boss's kill because of the way that the tagging mechanics work.
Honestly, I think in BCG, I just think you don't want to have to deal with PvP while doing PvE.
No, I do.
Right?
No, DA. I don't care. Like, I can PvP all day, right? I can PvP all day. I'm just talking about the fact that, you know, it's an MMORPG, it's a business. And the majority of MMORPG players at the moment are PvP-focused games, right? And I know Steven says, yeah, he doesn't want to, you know, he understands that not everybody will like his game. But, you know,
I still think this is a manipulative argument of being like, well, what I like, yes, it is.
You show me one successful. No, you show me one successful MMORPG that just ran on PvP focused stuff.
We've had this argument before, and it's just it's a different like we're I think we just move on from this argument.
I didn't know that this is a topic that
it's a topic
is previously discussed.
It's a topic.
Yeah, Atkinson passionate about the PvP.
Well, no, it's just like it's like yes, I like what they're trying to do, and with the game,
with you.
And you're just like being like, well, you need to do what I need to do because
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you're not listening. Yeah, well then you need to listen more closely. I'm not saying they need to do that. I'm just saying it's a worry of mine based on the past of the genre. That's the only thing I'm saying, right? And
we've had arguments both ways, and I think at this point we're either gonna rehash a gigantic argument that we've already had before, or we're gonna go back in circles. I think it's best if we just like table this either for its own topic or for a later podcast. Like it's like have that entire podcast be that thing, or but right now. Because it's number one, this is gonna be a heated topic anyway. But like,
it's not heated. I still love stickers, and it's all good.
Yeah, we love each other. We just
argue
very emotionally. Yeah, I don't think it's a good topic just because it's like it's like what's it? It's kind of hypothetical. It's kind of like you're saying the game can't be popular because of this, and I'm just like,
I mean,
give it a chance. So it's like, I don't know. It's like I don't think there can be.
I mean, it can be the
an
same.
argument.
I mean, just looking at New World and how New World did with the whole PvP stuff and everything. You know.
Well, it changed to a PvE game, so I think you're proven like it changed to the kind of game that you like.
Yeah.
So
because
I love using New World because people always. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we need to move on.
Because they cater to a certain crowd, right? And
they cater to your crowd. They added the PvE, and it didn't save the game.
How is it? How did it not save the game? The game is still live, right?
Okay, so they added. But New World's dungeons are like Snorville, right? Like one of the bosses, we literally just fucking whacked at it as we stood under its hitbox, and he didn't attack. But I mean, I thought the game New World was a lot of fun. Till the bugs and obviously the other pitfalls killed it. I had a fucking great time there. So in game, which is our next topic, I can move us into this next one. In game in New World was essentially going to the northern zones and doing chest runs. And through these, everybody was like, "Man, this is lazy in-game design," and yada yada yada. But I found the chest runs fun because essentially, you go up there with your Zerg, you're looting stuff, you're fighting bosses along the way, and you get into the occasional PvP. And obviously, Ashes is going to have something on that a lot more expanded. So I think people will be, receptive towards that type of in-game because, it's a mix-up. You get some PvE, you get some PvP at times, and after playing Lost Ark, I'd much rather run chest runs than fucking do a bunch of collectibles and other stuff that doing chores, hitting them rocks all day. Fuck Lost Ark in game. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree on that one.
That shit is fucking slave labor, dog.
I mean, I think the thing that
I'm hitting the wrong push to talk. I'm hitting my normal push to talk. I'm trying to make this argument. So with Lost Ark, it's a Korean MMO. Their looting system, I don't like it either. Like the way the loot works in there, I don't think that way New World loot system worked. I don't think the chest run thing would work for Ashes of Creation just with how the loot, the gear system in the game works very specifically, and you wouldn't have that. And a lot of people didn't like it. I'm not gonna say that the chest runs entirely were a bad system. It's just like the way that the way that the RNG system like the way that they had it work. There were other factors in the chest run that made it not fun. I'm not gonna say the chest runs overall don't work, but the way they worked in New World was not enjoyable. But I don't think that would work in Ashes of Creation just with how the gear system works.
No, obviously they want you to get it from the raids itself. I'm just saying the flow of going from like a killing monsters and mini bosses and things like that to some occasional PvP is enjoyable to players.
Yeah, but that's why you have. That's why it's all like. That's why like all the systems are supposed to be. We'll learn this when we actually see it. But like supposed to like married. So like you have it to where you go out and you get like you're not just like getting loot from the chest runs and stuff like that. You're having to go out and get actual crafting materials and transport that around. Like you have like PvP element is going out and getting the materials and then transporting them back, possibly having to move caravans across and not only getting them back to your node and storing them, or like having them do all that stuff, but also possibly transporting them across country, by caravan, and then finding someone to process the materials, and then finding someone that can also craft those into the weapon you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I love that part of the in game that they have planned. It's just like that, you don't just. I would like to see actual swords and shields, weapons, armor, things like that drop off the boss. But I want a majority of that gear to come from the scales, or you need the certain material that you got to move back to your node and process and craft and refine that. To build that armor, and your crafters can make that for you. I love that whole the transport thing. I'm gonna have the biggest enjoyment with that. Okay, boys, we just finished the raid. Some of our guys got some new equipment, and we need to go process and refine all this stuff. So let's load up our carts and head back to the nearest node, pack up that caravan because we're on the other side of the world, and move that caravan across to this part of the lake. And you're planning that shit out. Yeah, man, it's gonna be a fucking blast.
Do you guys want items to be segregated, like item drops?
I don't want items to drop from mobs. And the reason I don't want that is just games that have it that way usually have
you're gonna have some drop from mobs.
Yeah,
I don't want that. I don't want that because.
Just to be clear, I'm talking about everything like swords, weapons, etc., and leather and what's it called, craftable stuff that you can use.
I only want craftables to be out in the world. I want everything to come from crafting, and that's not just because of crafting love. It's just because of the fact that like if you have it to where loot comes from the mobs, then like in most games, there's no point in crafting.
I mean, you can still have item drop come from mobs.
Yeah.
And still have meaningful crafting. Removing I don't know, raid level crafting, utilities that you don't drop on mobs, cosmetic items for your freehold.
Yeah, but basically you just took
okay. So here's how you
the game. Here you go. This is crafting instead of 100% of the game.
I think we should, before we get into that whole topic now, I think we should cut it off because we hit the 1 hour mark. And our cameraman is, just standing still for the past hour. But we can do this again.
Man, I've been having a staring competition with the guy. Come on. Let me have my fun.
He's been doing a great job.
Alright, everybody wave. Thank you everybody for watching. We will be back in 2 weeks. Yeah, get your boobies out of the thing. And yeah, thanks for watching, and we will be back in 2 weeks. So stay safe, stay healthy, and yeah. Talk to you later, guys.
Bye.